I am Kate Kongsai, Assistant Professor, Department of Geography, Moirang College, Manipur, India. Today we shall discuss on the topic weathering. What is weathering? Weathering is the process of physical disintegration and chemical decomposition of rock. What causes weathering? Weathering may be caused by the action of water, air, chemicals, plants, or animals. Significance of weathering. Weathering helps erosion by exposing rocks to break. Factors affecting weathering. Number 1. Structure of rocks. It includes minerals, nature of rocks, and their hardness. Joints permits water to enter rocks and help weathering. Hard rocks are resistant while soft rocks are easily broken. Number 2. Slope of the land. Weathering is active on steep slopes, then moderate and gentle slope. Number 3. Climate. Mechanical weathering predominates in dry areas while chemical weathering operates in wet climate. Number 4. Vegetation. Bare surfaces are weathered to a greater extent. Vegetation cover protects the surface from weathering. Number 5. Presence of joints. Joints permit water to enter the rocks and help weathering. Now let us look into types of weathering. There are three main types of weathering. Number 1. Physical weathering or mechanical weathering. Number 2. Chemical weathering. And number 3. Biological weathering. Coming to physical weathering. Physical weathering is the breakdown of rock into small fragments by physical processes without a change in chemical composition. In physical or mechanical weathering, no chemical elements are added to or subtracted from the rock. The most important types of physical weathering are ice wedging and seating or unloading. Ice wedging occurs when water seeps into fractures and expands as it freezes. The expanding wedge forces the rock apart and produces loose, angular fragments that move downslope by gravity and accumulate at the base of the cliff as talus or scree. This is the picture of talus or scree. These broken fragments we call it talus or scree. Physical weathering, as I have mentioned, it is also known as mechanical weathering. It includes the disintegration of rocks without changing their mineral composition. This type of weathering results from the action of temperature changes, frost, wind, and rainfall. Mechanical weathering goes by three routes. We can see here in this picture very clearly how three routes cause this mechanical or physical weathering. Coming to number 2, in types of weathering, number 2, chemical weathering. The decomposition of rocks by chemical processes is called chemical weathering. Chemical weathering results from the action of weak acids and gases like oxygen, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen. Chemical weathering produces a chemical change in the minerals of rocks. High temperature and humidity cause the rocks to decompose. Chemical weathering is done through following four processes. Let us look into the four processes. Roman number 1, oxidation. The atmospheric oxygen combines with minerals of rocks, especially iron compounds, to form oxide. With the result, rocks get rusted as iron rusted due to presence of air and water. The original color of the rocks changes into red, yellow, or brown. The rock begins to decay and crumbles to a powder mass of brown dust. This process is known as oxidation. Oxidation is the chemical combination of oxygen in the atmosphere or dissolved in water with one mineral to form a completely different mineral in which at least one of the elements has a higher oxidation state, that is higher ionic charge. Coming to number 2, Roman number 2, process of chemical weathering, hydration. The chemical union of water with the minerals is called hydration. When rainwater enters the rocks, it increases the volume of rocks. As a result, the pressure reduces the minerals to powder. Feldspar is reduced to kaolin due to hydration. Process of chemical weathering, Roman number 3, carbonation. Rainwater mixed with carbon dioxide is slightly acidic. It dissolves in limestone, chalk, and marble rocks. In limestone areas, this acid water sinks into the ground and forms huge caves by a slow process of carbonation. This is a cave showing chemical weathering. Stalactites and stalagmites and pillars have been shown here in this picture. Chemical weathering causing minerals in the rocks to dissolve. And it forms stalactites and stalagmites in this cave. Carbonation may be regarded as the dominant weathering process of humid temperate regions. Rainwater dissolves an appreciable quantity of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and thus become and produces a dilute solution of carbonic acid. The rivers of temperate regions contain large quantities of carbonate which have been produced by the action of surface water containing carbon dioxide upon the bases in the rock. In the case of simple feldspar, one of the most important constituents of the crystalline rocks, the reaction may be written as autoclase feldspar, rainwater, and here we see clay, sand, and potassium carbonate. The process of carbonation can obviously has no effect upon pure sand or clay rocks exposed to weathering, since these are themselves end products in the process and not susceptible to further change. Process of chemical weathering, Roman number 4, is solution. Some of the minerals like rock, salt, and gypsum are dissolved in water. These minerals are removed in solution from the rocks. This process is known as solution. Coming to types of weathering, number 3, biological weathering. The breakdown of rocks by plants such as moss and lichen, thus causing humic acids to be retained in contact with the rock. A tuft of moss may lie in a small hollow, which is slowly enlarged by rotting beneath it. This is called biological or organic weathering. The more organic mass is in the zone of weathering, the more intensively the chemical decomposition of rocks takes place. The function of numerous microorganisms is particularly significant. These concern bacteria, yeast, microscopic fungi, and algae, as well as viruses, that, according to the means of nutrition, are referred to as autotrophic type, that is, those which extract food from inorganic compounds. Most of them in this biological weathering, most of them are called lithotrophs, which mean translated word for word from Greek, means those that feed on stones or simply stone eaters. Thank you.